Welcome. I'm Robin Anselmi, President of Consulting Services for Conversant. I'm joined today by Emma Rose Connolly and Michele Hunt. For the two of you want to say hello and just introduce yourselves real quick.
Sure. I'm Michele Hunt, and I am honored to be in this conversation and look forward to see what we discover together.
Beautiful.
And I'm Emma Rose, and I am here to help out with moderating sort of on the technical side. If you have any technical difficulties, go ahead and send me a chat. And I'll also be keeping an eye on the chat for any questions that we want to bring into the conversation. So feel free to go ahead and post those in there.
Great. So earlier this year, we began these community gatherings as a way to come together and discuss important leadership topics that were up for all of us in the world, particularly amidst COVID. And then a whole other set of circumstances has hit, at least us here in the US, around the racial reckoning. I think, Michele, is the word you like to use. Mm-hmm. For us at Conversant, earlier this year, we issued a statement that said it's time for change. And as a part of that statement, we said that we promise to be transparent about our own learning and public about our commitments. And so that's partly why we're here today, but it's partly how we got here anyway, maybe is the way to say it. So in our own journey about our own commitments, we've enlisted the support of Michele Hunt to really help us think about the places where we're living true to our values and the places where we may have some adjustments we want to make. So Michele's been helping us, and we thought a lot of other people would benefit from her wisdom and from this conversation. So we're just thrilled, Michele, that you're joining us.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
I'd really love to start with your story, right? Like, yes, we're here together, but I'd love to know, how did you get here today? So would you tell us just a little bit about the journey and your story?
Absolutely. I'm going to start in the beginning because it's very relevant. My parents, Ted and Leona Hunt, were very extraordinary people. I mean, the greatest people I've ever met. They came out of really horrific backgrounds. I don't even want to go into it. I mean, it was terrible. My mother ended up being the mother of her kids, of her siblings at 8. My dad was one of 14 kids in abject poverty. But when they came together, they intentionally created a vision of the way they wanted to raise their family, and they identified their core values. And then that's how, so I'm built for this. I'm built for this because they really did navigate us, our family development, with a vision and values. And that's why my business is Dream Makers, putting vision and values to work. My dad's job, just quickly, was to help desegregate the de facto segregation on bases. And so every time we moved to a new base, in this country and abroad, we were the only African Americans. So we really did experience at a very, very young age tremendous obstacles. And so the one story I do want to tell you very quickly is Kentucky. So every time we'd go out to school, the kids would lock their arms and sing "Tick Tock, the game is locked." And I'm going to say the word, "No niggers can play." And they would sing that every morning. And then, it was just, a ritual. But the part of the story I want to share quickly is the 5th grade. We had a 5th grade play, and I wanted to be in it so badly. And we were in the gymnasium, and the teacher was assigning the roles and everything. And she looked at me and she said, "Michele, here's your role." And it was "Cotton needs a picking so bad. Cotton needs a picking so bad. Oh, Lordy, help me pick some cotton." So I was embarrassed. I was devastated. I was frozen. But every morning, my dad would put us in front of the mirror individually, and we'd have to say, "I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, I'm loving, I'm loved, and I'm wise" 7 times. And then when we'd go home to Mom and complain, she'd say, okay, what are you going to do about it? So something clicked in when she had me coming down those bleacher steps, and I start saying, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, I'm loving, I'm loved, and I'm wise. And when I got down to the gymnasium floor, that I just walked out. I walked out of the gym, I walked out of the school, I walked home, and I sat on the little stoop and waited for my mom and dad to come home. And it was the most liberating day of my life because I chose the vision of myself. So I say all that to say, one, to illustrate how, to show you how deep this racial issue is and how it affects people of color from such a very, very young age, but also to show you that we can individually and collectively overcome it. So, so that's kind of where I started, and then as I navigated through life, I was in Department of Corrections for a while, and I decided I'm gonna get out of prison. I was a deputy warden of a prison, first woman, first Black, that kind of thing. And I ran across this company called Herman Miller. I wanted to join a company that didn't have me sacrifice my values. And this company, I ended up joining and ended up navigating my way to the top management team as corporate vice president for people. And we got in trouble. We got in trouble about 3 months after I joined the leadership team on our watch. And Max Dupree, who is just if you've not read Leadership is an Art, you need to read that. It's a powerful leadership book. Max Dupree simply said, okay, we're in trouble. So let's engage the entire organization in a process to recreate the company. So what do we want to become, our vision and our core values? And there were 3 core values that kind of helped us navigate through the racial, the sexual, and the gay issues. And that was valuing uniqueness, family, social, and environmental responsibility, and being a learning organization. And the impact was phenomenal. When I joined out, I was the only African American worldwide, and this was a Fortune 500 company in a management position. And when I left, there were 4 people of color who were vice presidents. When I joined, women were only in 15% of management. By the time I left, there were 51% of management. And it was all because we navigated with the values that was our secret sauce. And every decision, our actions and behaviors aligned to that. And so that's why, I'm so passionate about when an organization mobilizes around a shared vision and shared values, and those values are non-negotiable, where you can create miracles.
Michele, so what's really interesting to me about that, and you and I've talked about this in a number of conversations, I think so many organizations try to tackle diversity and inclusion as an initiative, as a project. And what you're saying, I think, really is, it's so much deeper than that. Like the source of what you've really got to go after really is at the, what do you value? Will you just say, you say it, I think, really beautiful. You just say a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the one-off doesn't work, and I've learned that the hard way, with all the wounds in my back and my front. But yes, it's because you have to get to the heart of the matter, and getting to the heart of the matter means to identify what matters to you most, and then laying that out there. And not only just laying that out there, but in giving people the opportunity to have courageous conversations around that. And when I say courageous, I mean really giving the space, the safe space to have those conversations. And the interesting thing about that, regardless of in my experience, when you can create that environment and enable people to really have heartfelt conversations and not be afraid to stumble, because we all are learning together, what comes out of that is you guys call it surprising results. I call it miracles. Absolutely miracles. I mean, we took the top 75 in groups of 20 to the Aspen Institute for 3 days with diversity, equality, and change. No other agenda. And we talked for 3 days. And we did have a guy, a gay resource guy who was president of the League of Women's Voters. We had, we had a couple of other people that just to provoke us. And I can remember this guy, he was like a hard nose from Roswell, Georgia, and he was just not having any of it. By the end of those 3 days, the question was, what gifts do you walk away with? And he got up and he said, you know what? I've got to go home and help my family unlearn everything I've taught them. And it just, so I've seen these miracles when you can stand in the question authentically. And when Mickey says it's not for the faint of heart, it's not. But if you come from a position of love and empathy, we can get there. But it is the conversation, it is holding the questions, and it is allowing this space to be messy. And when I say messy, I mean, we're humans. We don't have the answers, and Black people don't have the answers, and brown people don't have the answers. We are in this together authentically. So if we can honestly come together and have these conversations, I've had them with the design team, Emma and Roger and Cal and Katie and Gretchen and Evelyn. I mean, we just had this conversation, yesterday, right?
Yep, yeah.
And I'm just, it just flows. Do we struggle? Yeah, but it just flows. And it's because you guys, Robin, you and Mickey and Jim and Bill, and those are the kind of leaders of the organization, and Robin is the president. But you put this out there. It's time for change. This is, if you get an opportunity to read their "It's Time for Change" statement, it moved me to tears, and it's why I joined. I said yes, because it's not only moving, it's courageous. I mean, so it gave the organization permission to struggle with this, and that's the only way to get here, and to get all the voices in the room. Everybody should have their opportunity to participate.
So we have a question in the chat that I think links well with that, about so when you're working with people and there is a fear of the consequence of talking, and there's the fear of offense and the messiness like you're talking about, how do you encourage people to still engage with that? What's the value you tell people is in that, or how to manage maybe the discomfort?
I don't think you can manage the discomfort. I encourage people to authentically be uncomfortable. And I think that's the issue. The issue is that we have to be honest about this. It is uncomfortable. It is hard. And that's okay, because you're birthing something new. And all you ladies out there know the birthing process. It's messy and it's painful. But what you get at the end is just indescribable love. Undescribable. And anyway, see, it's messy. So seriously, it's not like somebody has the magic wand, and I don't. If I was to say there's one secret sauce or golden nugget, it would be to come from a position of love, to start with that intention, that we're in this together. And if you're leading this out there, if you can unzip yourself and be vulnerable, other people get permission to do the same. But it's hard.
I see Anne made a comment to us about authentic discomfort, right? And I think there's the question, about in service of what? So discomfort to just be discomfort, just to be discomforted, just to be uncomfortable. Gosh, now Michelle, I've caught it. Just to be uncomfortable, right? Is I think makes it like, okay, well, why, right? And so I know I've heard Mickey say before, I've said, sometimes comfort goes one way and value goes the other, right? Like to actually get to a valuable endpoint, we're going to have to work through that discomfort, but it has to be for something, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I know at Herman Miller, you talked about some of the differences in terms of the numbers, right? Like what did diversity look like on from a numbers perspective? Is there anything you'd want to say about like, but what made it worth it? Like what actually, how did it feel different in the organization as a result of those values? Or what did you notice that was something that people would actually recognize, like, okay, that was worth that discomfort that we had to go through?
Well, the hard numbers were, okay, we became the best company in America to work for. We became the best
Well, that's
company
something.
for women. We became the best company for working mothers. We became the most environmentally responsible company in the world. By Fortune, we became the most admired company for 7 years in a row. By Business Week, we had the best products as a result of this process. And this process was continual, by the way. It just became the way we did business, ran our business. The best managed company by the Bertelsmann Corporation, and 2 stock splits in 3 years. So if you want to just look at results, that was that. But what happened to us in here, our culture, it was you had to make people run home. We had to we had to put in a policy, you had to take your vacation. It became a joy to work. You could go into a Herman Miller facility in England or in Mexico, and you would know it's a Herman Miller place. You could feel it because there was just this energy, because people were liberated to contribute their gifts collectively, and to bring their whole self to work. It wasn't like, if you imagine valuing uniqueness and family, social, and environmental responsibility, the metaphor that they used, the team that worked on the communication around this, was that if an 8-year-old child sees a red Herman Miller truck, they will have an experience of quality and excellence. So that liberated us to change and align everything, right? And so couldn't send our people to Singapore every week. Couldn't do that anymore, right? We could send them, but then we'd have to have a family travel policy and fund it. We couldn't spew stuff into the environment, so we built our own energy centers. So it's the change and align everything. And that applied to who we attracted. We were able to attract the best and the brightest. And a lot of them are coming to headquarters in Holland, Zeeland, Michigan. Now, how did these 4 Black vice presidents from Digital, IBM, and Apple, how did they leave and come to us? We didn't pay them nearly what those organizations paid. Quality of life and feeling legitimate, have the ability to bring your whole self and to be recognized and valued. And then, so it was my Camelot. It was my Camelot. And we were, a quick story. A woman, Vicky, I know it's okay to tell the story. Vicky Tenhagen, because I told it in my book too. Anyway, she was pregnant, and she made the decision that she wanted to go part-time. She was our highest performer worldwide, and we needed to launch a new business. And so we talked about it, and we said, she's going part-time, we gotta let her go part-time. She's gonna do this. So in the alignment of family, social, and environmental responsibility, we said, okay, let's give her, just make her president of Herman Miller for the home. And yeah, she's part-time, but send her home and have her build her team at home. And they're all sitting in her home. So it's probably going to add value to what they come up with for Herman Miller for the home. Her and her team beat the quality standards, beat the schedule, and beat the cost. And launch that baby in 9 months or so worldwide. So it's really creating an authentic culture for living, breathing human beings rather than, and that's got to be fluid, you know, rather than sticking people in these boxes and saying, this is what you're going to be now. And you're going to, this job description and these, what those performance appraisals, oh my God, those are the worst things in the world. So we didn't do those. We had conversations and we talked about, you know, the performance appraisal I had with Max Dupree is he wanted, what's your vision for the future and how are you going to contribute to the vision of this organization? That was the appraisal I had with Max. So
well,
it's, yeah.
I say I love that, right? We are still human beings doing work. AI has not fully taken us over yet. Although I guess people would argue me on some of that. And while we are still human, like there is both the messiness and the joy that's possible in those conversations. I think for us, Em Rose and I were talking about this earlier with you, the other thing that's on my mind, and it's partly in the name of this, it's not for the faint of heart, because it is hard. What do you think? I don't think people get up in the morning and go like, yeah, I got those values, but I'm going to throw those out today, right? I don't think people are intentionally saying, I'm going to not live by my values. And yet we see it both at an individual level and at a collective level, right? That it is hard to do. What is it that it's a sort of a two-part question. We'll start with the first part, which is, what is it that makes it hard, do you think, in organizations to actually live the values? Why do we find that to be organizationally challenging, do you think?
Well, because we inherited unnatural systems. You know, the systems are not designed for people. They just plop people in it. And we need to recreate those systems. And if you peel the onion skin back, our core assumptions about people, you know, a lot of us were raised, not me, but a lot of us were raised with people can't be trusted. You know, people have limits on their growth, and just these elite people up here, you know, have all the answers, or the teacher has the answer, you know, and those old assumptions right now are crumbling, and we're seeing that. So your earlier question about we do all this, we go through this uncomfortableness for what? It is not just for the organization. We are co-creating a brand new world. All the old stuff is not working. The institutions, the governments, the communities. So we are at a particular point in time in the history of humankind where we have the opportunity to co-create a better world. I mean, that's just where we're at. All bets are off. So it's not just for the organization. It is also for the greater good, because there's a consciousness that's going on. You saw that with the George Floyd, right? I mean, the crowds protesting in Germany and London were bigger than they are here. There is a massive movement to want to be authentic and to right the wrongs everywhere. And so the organization is a part of this greater thing. In fact, a lot of organizations are leading it, like the B corporations. You know, they've said business is going to be a powerful force for good. You know, and they are leading the way, the conscious business movement, the conscious consumer movement, the young people. Oh my God, you know, the Future Coalition. You're not going to be able to attract and retain these bright young people. They are the end point of evolution, and they have that integration inside of them. You know, they don't have work over here and values over here and Black people over here and gay people over here, or women and men. They are they're a force to be reckoned with. So, so if you're for the future, and the future is now, you better get on board and have these conversations for your children, for each other. Um, I'm just, and the conversations we're having with Conversant, oh my God, it's, they're not just talking about Conversant. They're saying, how do we impact the world? How does our work have meaning in a broader sense? Can it be, we can't we help an organization and help the world? You know, can't those things be aligned? And these conversations are happening everywhere, honestly. So we are, you know, we're birthing something collectively, and we're going to stumble and we're going to fall and it's going to be messy and it's going to be uncomfortable, but just like childbirth, it's going to be worth it when that new baby comes out.
We've just a couple of minutes. I'd love to ask you a really personal question. Um, what would you like me to know about what it's like to be a Black female professional in the US? What is it that I don't get about that, and how hard maybe it is, or what it's like maybe is to live authentically for yourself in an organization
and in the world and in the country
and in the world
and walking down the street? Yes, it's incredibly difficult. It is, you know, because I have this foundation with my folks, I can navigate better than most, because when I confront it, I'm like, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent. So, you know, that's your vision of me, not mine. But every moment, as a professional, it's this word of this, you guys use legitimacy. You feel like you're being judged all the time. I think you saw it with Kamala Harris. She couldn't be herself, and you could feel her pain. She wanted to tell the truth. I'm going to tell the truth, so I'm going to just take the arrows when anybody wants to give them to me, because I don't think we can redesign this through pretense. And I don't think she was being pretense. She was doing what she had to do given the circumstances. But it's hard, and I'm going to be real honest with you. When we hear, Anne said this to me, when we hear people saying it's uncomfortable to do this, every day of my life is uncomfortable. From the day I was born, you know, I can't walk into a store without feeling uncomfortable. And I have all these degrees, and I have written books, and I've done all the stuff you said I had to do. You know, and yet you're judged so harshly. And, you know, I was blessed with mom and dad, Ted and Leona, but you've got to understand and as a woman on top of that, a Black woman, oh, good God. So I want to be truthful about that, and put it out there. It is a difficult journey. Now, let me say this. It's going to sound really strange. My daughter tells me I outran racism. And the metaphor she uses is it's like the Olympics. So I see racism as a competitor. And, you know, so you don't want to run against somebody who's, you know, mediocre. So this is a real challenge. And so that means my legs are stronger. My head is stronger. My heart is stronger. You know, so, you know, I'm agile now. I'm really, you know, I'm an Olympian. I won the gold medal of racism, over racism. No, and I have, obviously, you know, I mean, I took every risk possible. I became the first female probation officer in Detroit to handle adult male felons. I became Michigan's first female deputy warden in a male prison, and first Black on all of those. And Herman Miller's first Black female, Black everything manager, you know. So yes, you know, I run into it. I run towards the fire.
Well, my friend, I just want to say how grateful I am for both your heart and your wisdom.
Thank you.
both
And I'm
today
grateful.
and in the journey that we're on together. That was the fastest half hour event in I don't even know how long. So thank you to everybody for joining us this evening or this morning, depending on where in the world you might be joining us from. And just my most heartfelt gratitude to you, Michele Hunt, for being here with us.
Well, thank you. Can I leave them with something?
Yes,
Rob?
please, please, please.
Honestly, it's all oh so much easier if we can just have the courage to love and just to unzip and just let that, because we all have it in us. It's so much easier if we can do that. And I would love to see love be the organizing principle for every organization and for every community, every government. Imagine,
Mm.
just imagine what we design off of that.
Just imagine.
Thank
Thank you. Thanks everybody
you.
for
Thank
joining
you,
us.
everybody.
What a fun day. What a fun way to end our day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.